I'm sure at this point you are sick and tired of BMI, and so am I. However, I had this video researched, and I can't just research a video and not share it, because when I say this video is incredibly informative and truly interesting, I mean that from the bottom of my heart, guys. So this video is going to be about receivers as a whole and running backs as a whole, okay? I basically go through everyone in this draft class. This is like not a guide for the entire draft class, but you will learn something about everybody in this draft class and strategy overall. This is great, guys. Just watch it, okay? This is going to help you with draft strategy and prospecting everybody in the class. So let's get into it real quick. You know the drill. We're going to make it small and go to right here. So the average NFL receiver, you've heard this a bunch of times, is roughly 6 foot and roughly 200 pounds, okay? With a BMI of 26.6. The average wide receiver 1 per Dynasty Nerds has a BMI of 27.16. And the average wide receiver 3 or flex has a BMI of essentially the same thing, okay? So here we have the BMI of every... this is like not like my list. This is just like what I consider the consensus rankings at this point. So we have Ja'Marr Chase, Devontae Smith, Rashad Bateman, Jalen Waddle, Marshall, Wallace, Ross St. Brown, Tony, Williams, Rogers, Surratt, Smith, Terry, Eskridge, Atwell, Darden, Collins, Johnson, Newsome, Smith, Marset, and Anthony Schwartz, okay? And then I took the height, weight, and BMI of all these guys. I put them into groups of like consensus, the top 12, and then next 12. And this is the data I got, right? This class of receivers is light. 16 of the consensus top 24. This is supposed to say something else. 16 of the consensus top 24 had a BMI below the median weight. And just 7 names were above the median weight. So we had a lot of guys that were coming in under 200 pounds and just a couple that were above it. And this class is small as well. So 14 of the top 24 had a BMI that was below the 26.6 threshold, and just 9 above. And 7 of the top 12 receivers were below the median BMI of 26.4, or of 26.6, and just 4 went above it. And there were only 5 receivers of the top 24 exceeding a BMI of 27. And just 2 of the top 12. So what all this basically says is this class is small, and it's light, and it's short, and it's everything, all the above, which is concerning, because as you'll see up here, the average BMI is much lower than the average BMI of a successful NFL receiver. So you want bigger guys, and this class doesn't have very many bigger guys. But wait, there's more. Wait. After Ja'Marr Chase and Rashad Bateman go early, you don't have any like prototypical alpha builds until Seth Williams, which is multiple rounds later. And I can't make the decision for you, but you'll need to decide if you're going to be hammering running back, receiver, you'll need to decide if you're going to be hammering running back, tight end, and quarterback in the middle of rounds, or taking a shot on some smaller receivers, because these receivers are not only small but short and light. So just everything you don't want, really. Now on to running backs. Here, once again, I have divided them up into the groups. Top 12 and the next 12. So we have Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Gainwell, Carter, Jefferson, Sermon, Hill, Patterson, Herbert, White, Hubbard, Mitchell, Felton, Hawkins, Stevenson, Teague, Boyd, Roundtree, Trey Ragus, I can't speak right now. Brown, Martin, Verdell, and Williams. Okay, and this is really hard to find out, like what the average BMI of a back is, but I think it's about 30. I think it is, and that could be a little bit high, based on like what I've seen, but I couldn't get like an official number, so I went with 30, which I think is fair, if not more generous. And then using that estimation, 7 of the top 12 running backs have an above average BMI, and 14 of the top 25 or top 24. So it's a little bit heavier than average, and it's more common, for guys like running backs to gain weight and gain BMI points when they come into the NFL. So this number is probably going to be a little bit higher. So given that it's already above the average, it's good for us as dynasty managers, right? So higher BMI plus a high college target share hints at a 3-down potential and a 3-down skill set, even if the dominator wasn't there. So like, if you're looking at a profile, usually you want like size, speed, dominator, right? I mean, you want those things, and like target share as well. But if you don't have the dominator, and you're looking at a guy like Rhamondre Stevenson, right? This guy has the size, he might have the speed, and he has the target share. There's guys like Stevenson that are going later that have a bigger BMI and maybe a good college target share, or have some pass catching skills, that have a 3-down skill set, not in the traditional sense, but they have it because they don't have, like, even if they don't have a dominator, like they have like a good enough BMI to go between the tackles and a good enough target share to be competent, right? So this class has a lot of those guys later that have a higher BMI and maybe a good target share and maybe a 3-down skill set that we haven't tapped into yet. So given this, whereas a lot of receivers in this class are more undersized, and will have a harder time being bigger producers at the NFL level, given their undersized nature and them like small and whatever. The running backs, there are more of them later who look the part of a bell cow. Guys like Stevenson, guys like Roundtree, guys like Ragus, guys like Martin. There's guys that are of requisite size in the NFL, or in this draft, like later on, that have a 3-down skill set, size-wise, and maybe target share-wise, and this can be said for receivers, right? So when you're looking at receivers, let's see here. So when you're looking at at this class, like as a whole, you have a lot of smaller receivers and a lot of heavier running backs. So when you get later in the draft, and you're looking at guys like once the Bateman and the Chase and the Seth Williams are gone, and you're looking at guys that are just like small, probably put into the slot for receivers, but you have guys like Stevenson and Verdell out there for running backs. I'm likely going to be taking a lot more running backs in the 4th, 5th round of rookie drafts than I am receivers, because there's guys that have a 3-down skill set that could potentially be valuable as running backs in the NFL. Given that running back is more replaceable, it doesn't take as much as a running back to play on the field, right? So like if you have the skill set of a 3-down guy like a James Robinson, right? Like he comes out of nowhere, and you can catch passes, you're a lot more likely to make the field than an undersized guy that is pigeonholed into the slot, right? So what this says to me is later in the draft, I'm going to be hammering here. Let's go. I'm going to be hammering guys like Rhamondre Stevenson, guys like Trey Ragus, I don't know who that is, but guys like Jermaine Martin, guys like CJ Verdell, guys like Elijah Mitchell, right? Guys that have this higher BMI and maybe a pass catching skill set over over a receiver that doesn't really have a chance, like a Daz Newsome, like a Nico Collins, like a Tamarian Terry, right? Like these guys with the lower BMI at receiver are going to have a much harder chance of making it to their running back counterparts that have a higher BMI, if that makes sense, right? So my advice here, looking at all this data and all these BMIs and all that stuff, is hammer running back with guys that have the skill set to be a running back later, because there's going to be a lot more of them. So hammer these guys, hammer these Stevensons, these Martins, these Verdells, guys that look like Stevenson, Martin, and Verdell over these slimmer receivers, because these guys have a lot better chance of hitting in the NFL than their wide receiver counterparts. So go ahead and draft running backs late, okay? Because there's a lot more of them that are of the requisite size this year than there is usually. And the receivers aren't really looking too hot just from a size standpoint. So yeah, go ahead and